TTB Music Podcast.
Party like it's 1999. Do 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 do.
Duckadoo, duckadoo.
Although obviously it's not 1999 or
No.
anything.
No partying.
Yeah. Or even 9ing. Although we're close to
We're 19.
close to 09
Oh no. What?
because it's 08 at the moment, isn't it?
No, it's 18 now.
I know, but
Well, you mean month-wise?
month-wise, yeah.
Yeah, it's 08.
This is why this podcast gets kills on the numbers.
It does. This is
People
sort
just
of...
go,
This,
whoo!
this
Yeah.
sort of chatter.
The chat, banter.
Yeah.
Go, whoo! They even talk about music, you know. Yeah, sometimes.
John, that completely lost me. Have we started?
Yeah.
No,
So-
it's just been so long since we've done anything. I'm like, you know.
I know, that's why we're doing two podcasts very close to each other, Pete.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh, is that? Are we revealing that as well?
To catch up with each other.
Because I know we do this every Christmas and we lie about doing the New Year one, and actually we do
What?
it both at the same time. Sorry.
I didn't say we were doing them at the same time, Pete. I just said we were doing them close together.
Oh right. Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Right.
Clearly we're coming back next week
Don't
to
look
do the
behind
second
curtain.
one.
Don't look behind the curtain.
That's the only reason why we're doing 5 albums in this podcast and
'cause we're
5
coming
albums
back
in the next podcast.
Next week. Wink.
Because actually, otherwise we'd be doing 6, wouldn't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, this is podcast 6.
It is.
Speaking of the 6s.
Yeah.
So, what have we got on podcast 6, I hear you say? We have Nine Inch Nails, the Bad Witch EP, album, whatever you want to call it. Sophie, Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides. Let's Eat Grandma, I'm All Ears. Astron Drive, and Camelot, with a K, The Shadow Theory. So, we shall start with Mr. Reznor and Koo. I'm going to say it's the final part of the 3 EP thing because
Yeah. It is.
yeah, it's
It's
well,
the
some people are
final
going,
part.
it's an album. Going, well, it's kind of under 30 minutes still. It's kind of like EP. It kind of fits in with
It fits. The
the other thingies,
go on.
and we reviewed the first one on the podcast.
The EP.
Yes,
Yes, we did.
which was the Not Actual Events.
Yeah.
We were both meh. I was very meh. You were
Yeah.
just general.
Yeah. I recall. I still am.
Second one, Ad Violence, we didn't review. Although
I was a bit more. Oh.
I was still a bit.
Yeah.
So, at least for you, we're starting to go on an upward trajectory. Has that upward trajectory continued for the final part of the trilogy, Peter?
Yes. Yes, it has. And it's hard to talk about this without talking about the previous 2 EPs that were actual EPs as opposed to albums, whereas this is somehow an album. But
Still an EP.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah.
It's still an EP, but this one's actually been released as an album. I think the immediate. This one feels more like an album. I know it's only 6 tracks, but even sort of the tracks, the way it's put together, the production value is slightly higher. This one feels more like an album. So he has done quick albums before. I think back to With Teeth.
With Teeth, yeah.
And,
I like With Teeth.
And the one he gave away free back in 2009.
Hesitation mark?
Hesitation
No,
Mark's the last album
neither one.
proper. I don't want to say The Trip. It's not The Trip. It's the...
The Trip, yeah.
No, that's not The Trip. The Slip.
The Slip.
Thank you very much.
Close.
So it's a bit like that. It's just he says, I'm just putting this out there. It's an album now. Woo. Yeah. So I think the first one was very meh and a bit sort of loud and a bit growly and just noisy. The second one sort of was a bit softer and mellower. This one sort of feels more like a Nine Inch Nails album compared to the other 2, if that makes any sense. Because I think Atticus Ross, it's taken... Now that he's joined in full time in Nin, it just feels that balance, they've sort of tried to work out what their sound is other than their Soundtrix sound. And and I feel that on this album they've kind of found that it feels more like Nin, because I felt Hesitation Marks was very inconsistent. And of course, whenever I listen to a new Nine Inch Nails album, I immediately go back and listen to all the others, because that's what I always do with Nine Inch Nails. So I again listened to Hesitation Marks and gave up about 2/3 of the way through, as I always do, because it's not that great. But whereas this one,
I don't mind Hesitation Marks.
I don't mind some of it. So this one felt more consistent. I like, obviously, the opening tracks. And then what's quite interesting with this is the sort of midway through interpretive jazz breakdown, which for me very much oh, you anticipated my sneeze there. For me, very much followed on from the final Bowie album, Dark Star, Black Star even.
Yeah.
Yeah, get my stars right.
Dark Star, Black Star.
Dark Star, Black Star. You get the Black Star, Black
5 star.
Not a gangster. That album. So this very much picks up the mantle of that, and in a way, I guess, well, if this is his first album proper since the passing of Bowie. We know the two were close.
Yeah.
So this feels very much like he's deliberately passed up a button, and God Break Down the Door sounds very much like. I nearly said Dark Star again. Black Star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's sort of a, I think more than a tribute or a nod. But as with all Nine Inch Nails albums, they never quite end right for me. Ever since the Downward Spiral, they never quite finish. He never quite finishes. He always sort of ends experimentally.
And this album is an album that builds up to the longest track being the final track.
Yeah, and it's just like, yes. And I have listened to this track.
I'm glad you have, Pete. That's kind of part of what this podcast is about.
It's a fundamental, it's part of the rules. We have to sort of listen to the whole album. And the way it just sort of keeps looping, and it just sounds like it's becoming increasingly distorted, but it's not, because it does sort of, he's orchestrated it in a way. Anyway, it just ends.
It does.
Yes. What do you think?
I mostly agree.
I told you what I think, but what do you think?
I think this is. Guys, I don't. Not Actual Events was rubbish. Ad Violence was less rubbish, but still kind of rubbish. And I say rubbish in the sense that I thought both were literally kind of poor retreads of. It's obviously naturally as a band you're going to recreate and redo stuff that you've done before to an extent, but in both those two instances, on neither occasion did I think there's anything on here I would listen to over stuff that's on previous records. It was like, yeah, been here and you've done that better, so therefore I'm not interested. This seems to take various points from Nin's history, if you like.
Yeah. Yes.
And try and kind of blend them into these 5 tracks, but try and make them sound. It's okay. This is Nin now, as opposed to Nin. 20 years ago.
No.
So as you say, it starts off with Ship Mirror, which I think bizarrely has Ian Asbury on some additional backing vocals. I quite like this because A, it's short, and B, it's one of those songs that just stops in the middle. Totally. And I love songs that just stop and go totally silent and then start back up again.
Which he does.
Yeah. But I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So that immediately made me kind of go, okay, see, I'm already... After there's the one track, first listen, I was already thinking, okay.
You're in.
Actually, this hadn't happened the first two EPs, so when I was already going, okay, bored now, let's move on. This got me, and then you go straight into Ahead of Ourselves, which I love, which you got that kind of whole, the kind of drum and bassy type beat, distorted vocals, and then loud, shouty bursts of noise with guitar or something, which I quite like because it's unexpected. And then, as you say, then it goes all Bowie. Black Star,
Very
because even on the third track, which is the instrumental,
which feeds into it.
Yeah, they play the goddamn part.
Yeah.
that starts the whole kind of jazzy influence
Yeah.
thing, and you're thinking, oh yeah, this would not feel out of place at all on Black Star.
Black Star.
Yeah. And then it goes into God Break Down the Door, which also actually reminded me of Jesus Jones. Which was quite odd in a bizarre kind of way, but there you go. Not the strangest thing that's happened to me in this podcast. And I tend to agree with you. I think Over and Out is probably the weakest thing on the album. The first 5 tracks, I'm kind of like, yeah, really like it. And then you get to Over and Out and you're thinking, okay, now I'm kind of going back to No Actual Events and thinking, yeah, maybe it should be a 5-track EP. But still, big tick for me. I think it's the best thing that they've done in quite a while.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the best 9-inch. Let's go in. Let's ignore the other stuff they're doing with the Vietnam War and other soundtracks that they've done last year or two.
They're redoing the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Hope America win this time.
So Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross as Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have done soundtracked the Vietnam War, which is a groundbreaking American TV series. They did I was going to say Patriot Games, the one with Harrison Ford, not that one. The one about the Boston bombing.
Yes.
They did the soundtrack for that as well.
Apparently that was quite a good film.
Yes, apparently so. Had a very good soundtrack, apparently. That passed me by. As Nin, definitely the best thing they've done. I would say better than Hesitation Marks, but there are obviously a couple of blistering tracks and a remix on Hesitation Marks.
Yeah, if Hesitation Marks was a 6-track EP, Hesitation Marks would be really excellent.
Yeah, it'd be superb. I just can't get past the sort of middle of the album. It completely falls off. This is definitely the best thing that we've seen as Nine Inch Nails in a long time.
Okay, moving on. That's almost the whole podcast gone.
Brilliant, right, Nin.
Yeah. That's 12 minutes. This is meant to be a short podcast. We're doing 5 records. Jesus Christ.
This is the trouble when I listen to a band and then I do the entire back catalogue.
Yeah. See, what we need to do is we need to talk later on in the next podcast. We need to do a podcast that's as long as the album.
Right.
We're talking about. Anyway, we're moving on to Sophie. I've written the second album down. I hope it's the second album. I may have read that wrong. Sophie is a Scottish record producer, singer, songwriter. For those who care about diversity kind of things, transgender person, artiste. It's previously worked with Charlie XCX, Madonna, Let's Eat Grandma, who we'll come on to, strangely enough, very shortly. And most recently he's been working with Lady Gaga, perhaps not surprising. This is a really interesting pop record. In lots of kind of ways, it kind of starts off as a kind of gentle modern pop record, I suppose, with OK I Cry, with Sophie herself doing vocals, which she doesn't do very often. It's usually other people singing. And it kind of starts off in this kind of one way, and you kind of, your brain then kind of sets yourself for what you think the album's going to be, and then it just immediately goes off the other direction and becomes a far more interesting and, dare I say, challenging pop record. So you get straight into a song called Pony Boy, which is in your face with a kind of fat, distorted beats, and kind of, it's almost more akin to Aphex Twin in its kind of sound. And this also, that kind of beat carries through to the third track on the album, Face Shopping, as well, which is equally bizarre, and yet the more times you listen to it, strangely compelling. And it reminded me of an album that I own that I hadn't listened to for years, by a band called Chicks on Speed.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And a song of theirs called Warm Leatherette.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to listen to it.
Yeah.
Really good. And there is that kind of general, listening to it, I was thinking, trying to express how it is, and it's this kind of juxtaposing of kind of noise and pop hooks that at times reminded me a bit of St Vincent, but St Vincent as played by the Aphex Twin. This is make it sound like it's not. There's nothing on it that's kind of poppy and catchy and stuff like that, which is again bizarrely not the case, because you've got things like Cold in Water where it almost comes into kind of Kate Bush territory. You've got Immaterial, which I'm guessing intentionally has a huge hint of Madonna's Material Girl. Apparently, I think she's also worked with Madonna before as well. And this is definitely one of those albums when the first listen through, I was thinking, this is pretty rubbish, and then I have warmed to it quite substantially in subsequent listens. So I think it's one of the more interesting records we've listened to this year.
Yeah, I agree. I actually like this from the off.
Okay.
And it has grown on me. I think It's Okay to Cry has a sort of a rawness about it, but very Prince.
Yeah, and actually, I was going to say there's a great line in it which I did write down, because I thought, this is brilliant. So it's like, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I think your inside is your best side. Yeah, which I just thought was a lovely line.
It's very sort of soft, very sort of raw to begin with, and then, as you say, it goes into a very sort of very varied set of styles. Very, very. You say Ponyboy, very much in your face. Some great pop songs on here as well, and you've already mentioned Immaterial. One thing that I loved the instrumental Pretending, which was just dropped in the between Not Okay and Immaterial. So really good juxtaposition of the tracks either side.
And you're not expecting, and it's one of the things you're not really expecting it.
And that really came sort of out of nowhere, and it was just sort of like, and it really was just noise, but it was brilliantly done, brilliantly put together. So no, that really was one of my favourites, and I think it sort of added to it. When Immaterial then kicked in, you're like, perfect, you've just sort of taken you through the album and put you there, and it's perfect. And in fact, I mean, to that extent, I think the second half of the album sort of had more of an impact on me. I mean, it closes with a track called A Whole New World, not the one from Aladdin.
A Whole New World.
Not that one.
Yeah, and actually, something that bizarrely something that will run through this podcast and the next podcast. Yeah. They were clearly not recording straight after this one.
No, we're not doing that next week.
Definitely next week.
Definitely, like we did the New Year one at New Year.
Is long tracks.
Yeah, long tracks.
There's long tracks on albums that you wouldn't necessarily think are going to have long tracks on.
Exactly, but whole New World. For that, I mean, the first half of that wouldn't have felt out of place on a sort of latter day Prodigy album. It's that sort of sound, and then of course it then evolves into something else. So yeah, no, very varied, very very enjoyable. I'd heartily recommend Sophie.
So we move on, sort of, because actually Sophie
here as well
is also present on this record as well.
Yeah.
Let's Eat Grandma, I'm All Ears Now. Let's Eat Grandma is the second album from a duo, Jenny Hollingworth and Rosa Bolton, who got together when they were 13. They're now, I think, a grand old age of 18/19.
Oh. It's the sound of Peter's live crashing before.
Yeah. And... Well, I say this to you, but perhaps not, the song Hot Pink was produced by Sophie.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, a couple of 18-year-olds from Norwich. What could they do, Pete?
Well, I like an arty pop duo. As has been
Do you really?
I do.
I've never noticed.
Yeah, as has been well established on this podcast over the years. So yeah, obviously the opening few tracks, I picked up all the arty pop duos and other bands that from the sort of 82 to whatever year it is now. Yeah. I picked them all up in the first few tracks, and I especially liked the track It's Not Just Me, which I actually thought was very Sigrid.
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 So I thought Churches.
Sigrid?
I actually thought Churches.
You thought Churches?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I heard Sigrid at that point. Because obviously the vocals vary elsewhere, and it's very English. So it's again arty pop duo that sound very English.
Yes, it is. Something I picked up on noted as well on my thing. It does sound like they're from
England.
From here, like.
All right.
Not that foreign stuff.
No. So I'm not going to do a Norwich accent, but you know what I mean. But obviously English and all that brings to you sort of that sort of legacy of making and crafting decent pop music and listening to records by Depeche Mode and New Order. It's all there. Depeche Mode, particularly their earlier work, it's in there. I heard tracks from like albums like A Broken Frame and Construction Time Again, records that are like 30 plus years old now. I could hear it. It's there. The legacy is there. Anyway, other things that I liked about this album, tracks that I liked in particular. I mean, Pink Organ. Oh, hello.
Ooh, Mrs.
Get my notes confused here. Hot Pink, followed by the organ on the Cat's Pyjamas. People are just now listening to me scratching their heads going, what the F is he talking about?
I'll put my clothes back on, Peter. So
the Cat's Pyjamas has an organ on it.
It does, yes.
I'll stop now. I also, and speaking of long tracks, I also rather like the rather long Pink Organ. I rather like the rather long Donnie Darko.
So I like both the long tracks in this album.
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it's again, this is another album. So they've picked up quite a bit of press recently, ever since they released their debut album a couple of years back. With people raving about them and their maturity and the fact that how interesting they write, considering of how young they were and channeling various different genres and stuff like that. I've read a couple of reviews of the album where it's going, oh, they're already sold out, and you're just thinking, Jesus, that's quick, isn't it? It doesn't sound like a sellout album to me.
No.
Because as you said, there's actually a lot going on there, and in addition to the stuff you've mentioned, for me there's even bizarrer stuff. There were times where I was listening to this record, and particularly because you got Cool and Collected, which comes in at 9 minutes, Donnie Darko at 11 minutes, when whilst it doesn't sound anything like either of these two bands, I was listening, and there were a couple of moments when I was genuinely thinking about the Grateful Dead and the Eagles and a couple of other people who genuinely have no connection with this record at all. But there was something about the way the songs were flowing, the way they were structured, linking, that it was just suddenly that's what came into my head. And I was thinking, oh yeah. And other times I was thinking, at its poppiest, I was thinking to Summer Camp. I was also thinking about Shampoo.
Oh my God.
But again, not musically, but of that kind of the vocally of actually sounding kind of young and actually of where you're from, rather than sounding faux American or
funny because I can't remember, is this album or another one? I thought about Summer Camp this week, as you do. And that's possible. Maybe that's possibly why. Great album.
Yeah, but so I thought Let's See Grandma were, considering everything about them, I was thinking, to be making interesting and trying to make challenging music when you're 18.
Yeah.
Good on them, that's what I say. Good on them. We move on to Astral Drive. I'm going to say ping, 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 and ping again before we even start this one.
Damn it! That's all my joke!
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to tweet about this so I could crack that joke. Oh well.
So I'll just start off perhaps by explaining who Astral Drive is, because actually this is it's genuinely quite interesting. So
I'll sit back.
Astral Drive is really a guy called Phil Thornley. Who Phil, you say? Well, Phil is someone who at 17 was working with Mickey Most and people like that as a trainee engineer mixer. Ended up doing some engineering on an early Wings album, because he just happened to be in the studio when the proper engineer had the proper engineer had buggered off. So Paul McCartney went, "I'm sure you can do this. Go on, yeah, just go for it."
That's another one of my references.
Yeah.
Go on, carry on.
Yeah, year later, he was producing the Cure's Pornography album.
Yeah.
And then went on to be a bassist for a year after that. Since then, has had a varied career, mainly doing engineering stuff, mixing records for people like Duran Duran, Prefab Sprout, Psychedelic Furs, Ash, Holly Valance, and is probably most famous for co-writing Torn.
Ah.
As made famous in this country, at least, by Natalie Imbruglia. But he also wrote I Quit for Hepburn, great song. And most recently he's been writing with Pixie Lott and Mel C. In fact, wrote Pixie Lott's last 2 number ones.
Oh, wow. Okay.
However, that all said...
Pedigree.
Yeah, apparently Phil says, my biggest influence is Todd Rundgren. You probably wouldn't guess listening to this record.
No. Ping. Ping.
I think it's quite fair to say the album is pretty much an homage.
An homage?
To the world of Rundgren, mid-70s. It's, you know, from the opening bars of Love Is Real, you're just kind of going, okay, yes, this is like a Todd Rundgren tribute album. It is quite full on. As you say, there are other influences from that period there, but they're channeled essentially through the glass of Rundgren. And the overall effect is actually a bit over the top for me, it has to be said. Which is not to say there isn't some really good stuff on the record. The opening track for Love Is Real, I think, is cracking track. You then get, I think, Wishing I Could Change the World in Summer of '76, which oddly sounded even more like if you'd imagined Greg Alexander in his guise of New Radicals doing Todd, and then Bill doing a cover of them doing Todd.
Funny, go on.
Yeah.
I thought of them too.
Yeah. And there are tracks that sound very much Todd-like because they're almost kind of copied, so... I think it's I'm trying to think which track it is. I think No One Escapes and the title track both borrow heavily from actual Todd songs when they've pretty much repurposed the things. And it's you know it's kind of fun for what is it? It's a shameless mid-70s singer-songwriter album. Interestingly, the backing band for the album he's basically making his money these days as being a member of Bryan Adams' touring band, so has roped in various members of Bryan Adams' band to play on various tracks, and Todd Rundgren's bass player Kazim Sultan also lends the odd backing vocal too. So enjoyable homage without being brilliant is my view.
I almost tweeted you this week to paraphrase Mrs. Merton. So, what first attracted you to Todd Rundgren's sound-alike Astral Drive?
Yeah.
I mean, he hangs heavy over this one. You've basically said everything I'm going to say, so I'm just going to read my notes here. Wishing I Could Change the World. I've actually written here post-Beatles Macca. Possibly Wings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could even be singing it himself if he was 40 years younger. And then obviously Child of the Universe, A Wizard, a True Star, the La La song, you know. Yeah, that. I found that the second half, again, I got along better with that than perhaps the first half of the album. For me, the turning point was I actually really liked the track, and I'm not doing this to be funny. I did actually really like the track Astral Drive. by Astral Drive on this album. Astral Drive. I'll leave it there.
Just sound a bit like Todd. Sometimes I don't know what I feel. But yeah. So, we reached the end of this first session, and the long overdue return of metal.
Metal!
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. In this instance, it is the 12th album from American band Camelot. That's Camelot with a K for people who are caring at this point. The Shadow Theory. Also, very loosely, a thingamajiggy concept record.
Concept.
Yeah.
It was a concept.
Although saying that, surely all albums are concept
I'm not
records.
sure what the concept was. I think it's
Modern
a
Life.
bit, oh, is it?
I think, and things
Right.
that may.
Is it not a bit? Is it not meant to
Woolly.
be like Games of Thrones or something?
Well,
Yes, I call it Games of Thrones, like my father.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, even.
well, I don't know, Pete. You can tell me how this album kind of kicks off.
Well, it kicks off with a track called "The Mission."
It does, yeah.
Which basically, I've written here. This is my first impression. Really liked the Marvel Cinematic Universe-esque opening fanfare.
I see. You can compare notes here. I kind of went, "Oh, Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean."
Exactly, it's that thing. And it's very, and I was like, it's just very sort of Disney. And
Yeah.
speaking of Disney, the lead vocalist, who throughout this album, I'm not kidding you, unlike any other metal album I've ever listened to, the vocalist on here feels like he has been just dragged off the stage at Broadway. Broadway.
Oh, yeah, Broadway's place, it's fun. Yeah.
We'll
It's not Ealing Broadway, yeah, but
You
yeah.
know Broadway, you know Broadway with the theatre,
Yeah.
and the shows and such. So he's got that sort of quality, that sort of show,
Yeah.
quality that sort of singer that he comes on and he does his very deep and meaningful song about cats or something, and I think that's very much he sounds like that throughout the entire album.
He does.
It's just like he's straight out of a Disney show or cartoon or something. And what I think was a little bit grating at the beginning is that voice is just a little beat off being a rock singer. But as if to underscore the point that this is a metal concept album, you've got someone growling, possibly even him, underneath.
Oh, it takes a while for the growling to start, though.
It's there at the very beginning, and then it disappears, and then
Yeah,
it comes
then it comes back at Mindful Remedy.
Yeah.
When suddenly there's growling again. I was going, yes, growling.
The growling was there, as if to underscore the point. It's just like, I am a singer in a show. He's a singer. I can't do it.
Yeah,
He's a singer in the show. You get the point.
it's too much for you.
So, what are my overall impressions? I liked the drama. I liked being reminded of all the film blockbuster movies I've seen the last few years, particularly those that involve comic book heroes
There is a lot of that,
and
yes.
dwarves and elves. I particularly like. I mean, the opening track. I know I joke. I didn't mind it. I have to sort of also give props to Burn to Embrace, which not only had children singing on it, that scores points. It also had guitars as bagpipes.
I've read here. Burns gets all fiddly and Irish. Sing it, kids.
And then there was the tiresome duet.
Well, it's cool to hear. But
There's a couple.
But I'm
The first one.
But yeah, I'm assuming you mean Twilight, which I wrote the Power Ballard duet.
Yeah, Power Ballard. Yeah. And so I was, but actually after that, I was glad to get back to the rock. It all sort of sounded very similar in the second half.
Yeah, it's
So
good.
I got a bit tired.
Yeah, it's a weird album.
I think it's time to lie down.
My first listen to this, I mostly thought it was shit. First listen. I will confess, I have listened to it 2.5 times, and the
Yeah.
yeah, and the second listen, into the third list. Like I went, okay, I am being rather harsh on this record. And it reminded me actually a bit of times of Queensryche. Which, rather than being a good thing for Camelot, just made me want to listen to Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche again, which I did this week. Still a fine record, it has to be said. I think you've covered most of the things. I actually say it starts off all Lords of the Ringsy, and basically thinking, God, these guys should be literally hired by Marvel to just do soundtracky stuff. And then all of a sudden then all of a sudden it's like, here come the drums, like.
Meanwhile, on Asgard.
Yeah, and then we go all symphonic rock, and it's just, as you said, the guy does live up to that kind of thing. And it's part symphonic rock, part traditional metal, part prog metal in places where it almost goes off on one. I think I agree with you that Burns, whatever it's called, Burns to Embrace, I quite liked, even though
the kids kicked it.
It's just like, it's daft, but it's fine. The opening track, Phantom Divine, is actually not that bad, and it's the one of 3 tracks featuring a fellow singer. It is the best of the bunch. Once you get over the daftness of it, it's actually not a bad track. But only other thing is the song Amnesiac, which is the 4th track of the album. Every time I got to the chorus, I just started singing Titanium by David Guetta featuring Sia. Because that's that whole amnesia, and it bugged me the first time, thinking that sounds like something else. And then by the second time, my brain had suddenly got to what it was, and I was going, and suddenly I was going to go, titanium, which perhaps not the vibe they're going for. I don't know. Anyway, interesting.
Very.
Join us again next week.
Next week.
When we'll do this again with some more records.